Tanzania just flipped the script. For decades, the global mining industry has operated under a certain set of assumptions, a status quo that heavily favored those doing the digging, often at the expense of the nations where the resources originated. But now, the winds of change are blowing. No more raw gold giveaways. The days of simply extracting raw gold and shipping it overseas are coming to an end. 20% stays home. This isn't just a suggestion, it's a firm requirement, and Africa's rebellion against Western mining just caught fire. This move by Tanzania is resonating across the continent, emboldening other nations to re-evaluate their own mining agreements and demand a fairer share of the wealth extracted from their soil. For decades, the model was simple, almost brutally so. Dig up Africa's wealth, extracting its precious resources with little regard for long-term benefits to the local communities. Ship it raw, sending the unprocessed materials overseas to be refined and transformed, and send back a fraction of the profits, leaving the African nations with a pittance compared to the immense wealth generated from their own land. Now, Tanzania says, with a newfound sense of determination and purpose, hold up, enough is enough. The old ways are over. A full 20% of all gold, every single ounce, must be refined within its borders before export. This is about creating local jobs, boosting the Tanzanian economy, and ensuring that the nation benefits directly from its natural resources. This isn't a suggestion, a polite request, or a negotiable point. It's a declaration of economic independence, a bold step towards reclaiming control over its own destiny. President Samia Suluhu Hassan's government tore up the old contract, signaling a clear break from the past, and is forcing the world to negotiate on Tanzania's terms. The power dynamic has shifted, and the global mining industry is being forced to adapt. It's a direct challenge to a colonial economic structure, a system that has historically exploited African resources for the benefit of Western powers. That kept value-added processes and wealth outside Africa, perpetuating a cycle of economic dependence. Tanzania is building its own gold industry, investing in infrastructure and expertise to process its own resources, demanding to be a partner in its own prosperity, not just a source of raw materials for others to profit from. The policy is live, actively being implemented and enforced. The stakes are real, with billions of dollars and the future of Tanzania's economy hanging in the balance. And the global mining industry is scrambling to react, reassessing its strategies and negotiating new terms with the Tanzanian government. The world is watching as Tanzania dares to ask, challenging the established order and inspiring other nations to do the same. What if our resources were actually ours? What if Africa could finally control its own wealth and build a prosperous future for its people? Leading this charge, spearheading this transformative movement across the African continent, is President Samia Suluhu Hassan, a figure gaining increasing prominence on the world stage. She is a strategic leader, focused intently on pragmatic, game-changing policies that are reshaping Tanzania's economic and political landscape. Her vision extends beyond immediate gains, aiming for long-term sustainable development. But this isn't a solo act, not a lone crusade. The real power, the true potential for lasting change, lies in the emerging alliance, a coalition of nations. This alliance is stretching beyond Tanzania's borders, encompassing a wider regional strategy. Specifically, the Alliance of Sahel states, Burkina Faso, under the leadership of Captain Traoré, Mali, a nation rich in resources and history, and Niger, each facing unique challenges and opportunities. These nations are coordinating their efforts to reclaim control, to assert their sovereignty. They aim to regain control over their mineral wealth, ensuring that the benefits accrue to their people. The handshake between Suluhu and Captain Traoré, a powerful image of solidarity of Burkina Faso, resonates deeply across the continent. It's more than a photo op, more than a fleeting moment captured by the cameras. It's a symbol of a new, unified front, a testament to the growing spirit of collaboration. For years, Western corporations, driven by profit, have often played African nations off each other, exploiting divisions for their own gain. Now, a united bloc, a cohesive force, fundamentally shifts the negotiating power, leveling the playing field. This isn't just Tanzania's policy confined to its borders. It's a blueprint for a new era, a continent-wide movement towards self-determination and economic empowerment. The message is clear. The days of divide and conquer, the era of exploitation, are definitively over. The era of unite and prosper, of collective strength and shared prosperity, has officially begun, ushering in a new dawn for the continent. The rules of the game, the dynamics of power, will never be the same, marking a profound shift in the global landscape. What does the 20% mandate mean? It's $1 billion transformation. For every 100 gold bars, 20 must be refined in Tanzania, injecting $1 billion into the local economy. This is value that was exported, now staying home: jobs, infrastructure and technology. Mining giants like Barrick Gold must now invest in local refineries or risk losing access. The 20% rule isn't just about gold, it's about building the entire value chain. Tanzania's policy is a direct assault on the old system, no longer just the first, least profitable link. The goal: become a hub for refining and a major player in the finished bullion market. This is about sovereign wealth and sustainable development. Tanzania is turning its mineral wealth into a direct engine for national progress. Now add another explosive ingredient. Gold prices are skyrocketing, approaching $3,400 per ounce. For Tanzania, with its new mandate, this is like winning the lottery and then tripling the jackpot. Every ounce refined in Tanzania is now worth more than ever. The 20% reserved for the country is exponentially more valuable. This windfall boosts foreign exchange reserves and strengthens Tanzania's global position. Mining companies can't afford to walk away. The profits are too immense. The government's leverage is at an all-time high. Compliance is now the cost of doing business. Tanzania didn't just change the rules, it changed them at the perfect moment. The ripple effects hit London and Wall Street like a tidal wave. The supply of raw Tanzanian gold is suddenly cut by 20%, forcing a frantic recalculation of global supply lines. Investment banks are buzzing about resource nationalism 2.0, a smarter, market-savvy approach. Instead of seizing assets, Tanzania is using regulation and market leverage to shift the balance of power. Companies must now invest in Tanzania's development or risk being left behind. Publicly, industry lobbyists protest. Privately, smart companies are adapting, seeking local partnerships. The future of mining in Africa belongs to those willing to partner, not just profit. The panic in London and New York is the sound of a paradigm shifting. Africa is no longer a passive player. Tanzania's move is sparking a domino effect across Africa. Ghana, Mali, and Niger are watching closely, considering similar local refining quotas. The alliance of Sahel states is poised to form a powerful gold bloc, harmonizing policies for collective bargaining. The momentum is fueling talk of an independent African monetary fund, backed by Africa's own gold. Imagine intra-African trade settled in a new currency, backed by the continent's bullion. This would insulate economies from dollar volatility and external dependencies. A gold-backed African currency could fundamentally alter the global economic landscape. The domino effect that started in Tanzania could culminate in a new, independent African economic order. To understand today's significance, look back to 1967 and the Arusha Declaration, Tanzania's blueprint for self-reliance. President Suluhu's gold policy is the Golden Arusha 2.0, not state-run socialism, but market-savvy regulation. It channels Nyerere's vision, resources for the people, into the realities of a globalized economy. Instead of rejecting investment, it redirects it. Instead of nationalizing, it legislates. The policy fuses Pan-African ideals with shrewd economic statecraft. It's not just a law, it's a continuation of the national liberation struggle, now fought on the economic front. The spirit of Arusha lives on, turning legislation into a symbol of national pride and sovereignty. The path forward is high stakes. Mining companies face strict deadlines to comply with the 20% mandate. The Tanzanian government is holding firm. No more delays, retaliation could come, sanctions, trade challenges, or financial pressure from the West. But Tanzania is betting on the allure of its gold and the strength of regional solidarity. With the AES bloc and Ghana signaling support, Sanctioning one country is risky. Sanctioning a bloc could destabilize global markets. African unity is Tanzania's shield, turning a bilateral dispute into a continent-wide confrontation. This is a test of will sovereignty versus entrenched global interests. The outcome will set a precedent for Africa's future engagement with the world. We're witnessing more than a policy change. This isn't just about adjusting figures or tweaking regulations. It's a fundamental shift in the balance of power, a re-evaluation of worth, and a bold step towards economic sovereignty. We're watching a continent awaken to its own strength. A strength that has always been there, lying dormant, waiting for the right moment to surge forth. From bustling metropolises to resource-rich landscapes, Africa is rising. For centuries, Africa's story was written by others. A narrative often filled with exploitation, misrepresentation, and a denial of its true potential. The voices of its people were often silenced, their contributions overlooked. Now, Africa is writing its own, taking control of its narrative, shaping its destiny, and demanding its rightful place on the global stage. The decisions are being made by Africans for Africans. The 20% mandate is just the first chapter, a bold declaration of intent, a signal to the world that Africa is serious about reclaiming its resources and directing its own economic future. The wealth beneath the soil, the vast reserves of gold and other precious minerals, will now build the nations above it, fueling infrastructure development, funding education and healthcare, and creating opportunities for its citizens. This is about engaging the world on equal footing, not as a recipient of aid, but as a partner in progress, transforming potential into power, converting raw resources into tangible benefits for the people of Africa. The alliances, the partnerships being forged, the dominoes, the interconnectedness of nations, the plans for integration, the vision of a unified and prosperous continent. This is an irreversible shift, a momentum that cannot be stopped, a tide that cannot be turned. The spirit of self-determination has been reignited, burning brighter than ever before. Driven by leaders armed with market knowledge and natural wealth, and empowered by a new generation of educated and ambitious Africans, Africa's gold is Africa's power, a source of strength, a symbol of hope, and a foundation for a brighter future. The game has changed, the old rules no longer apply, and the new rules are being written, not in distant boardrooms, but in Africa, for Africa, by the people, for the people. This is Insight Africa, your window into a continent on the move, where the continent tells its own story, unfiltered, unedited, and unapologetically African. One revolution at a time, one step closer to a future where Africa's potential is fully realized. This is Insight Africa, where the story of our power is told by us, for us.